Well, look, I am in a classical building in London. It could be a set from Downton Abbey or some big thing, but it's not. I'm sitting with one of the great singer-songwriters. We're having a glass of water and a nice cup of tea. She's just finished an extensive European tour. Album of the month for April, Melissa Etheridge. Nice to meet you.
What a pleasure to see you in person. I love this.
So, look, we're going to spend the next hour talking about your album. We're going to be a bit philosophical, but we're also going to do a bit of a shameless plugging, which we can do on this lovely rock show. First of all, congratulations. I put it up there, not that anyone cares what I think, I put it up there as one of your best 3 albums.
Thank you, and I would agree with you. The way I approached this album, the whole philosophy was to go to my strengths, go to what people have always loved about me, the songwriting, the rock and roll sensibility, and the textures, the sound, where I could play any of these songs, just sit here with my guitar, and it would, it would come across. That was the, from the outset. That I really wanted this album to come solely from that creative place that so many of my early albums came from.
It's funny, my take, and again, I'm just a middle-aged fat man, so I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm no musicologist. But I heard your lovely, beautiful PR, Steve, sent me the Grat track, and I thought, okay, we played that quite a bit. That's beautiful. That's very Melissa. It's very beautiful, and it's kind of a little bit what I expect. But then I got an early stream, quiet listen of the album, and I went, oh, OMG, this is different. It's almost like the Grat track's a bit deceptive. It's like full sense of security. Yes, and then the album kicks in. It's like, what have we got going on here, boys and girls?
Yes, that's just it. It's funny that Faded by Design, you could put that on my Yes I Am album, and it would be perfect. And it's funny that not funny. I understand. The record company is like, we want to let's introduce it with that. I'm like, okay, but they're going to hear the Medicine Show eventually. They're going to hear that first track, and they're going to know that it's rock and roll, and it's dangerous. There's which rock and roll should be. It should incite and push boundaries. And I'm actually very comfortable now after 30 years of just pushing boundaries. That's what we do. And this album is full of that. It's full of healing. It's edgy. It's I'm really enjoying it. Yeah.
Where does it sit for you? Does it sit in one of your top 5, would you say, for you?
Well, it's funny. People say, what's your favorite? Usually, always, the last thing that I've done is my favorite, just because that's where I'm at. That's what I'm putting in it. Yeah, this, I would put it next to the debut album and Yes I Am. Yeah, I would put it right up there.
One little quibble, side issue. We do lots of side issues. Yes I Am. It's not on vinyl anywhere. We need to get that out on vinyl.
That's crazy. It's funny because that was right when vinyl died. Yeah, it was huge. And we usually released the albums, even though we weren't releasing vinyl in America, we would release vinyl over in Europe. But that one, now that's Universal's fault. So
message to beautiful Universal, who we love dearly. They were sitting there, but they've run for cover because I'm in town. I know CDs that were in then, but just deal with it, reissue it, get it on vinyl, give Brucey and all the other people a rest. Let's get Melissa on vinyl. Marvelous.
There you go. I'm all for it.
But the new one's on vinyl.
Yes, and that's exciting. It is. I love seeing the resurgence of vinyl in music listeners, and how we love the convenience of hopping in your car and you just have all your songs on your phone. But when it comes to the musical experience, like I'm in my home, I want to relax and enjoy some music. To put vinyl on is amazing, and this album really sits in there with it, and it was fun to sequence it, knowing that for once again after 20 years I would have that break where, okay, what's the 6th track, on that second side, which is side 2, which some people will start the album on side 2, and so it was fun to think about that in the sequencing.
It's fun. I think we said on the telephone interview, one of my big life achievements in the last 8 months is my oldest daughter, who's 13 now, said, "Daddy, Christmas, can we get a family vinyl player?" And I actually, for me, was quite pleased to see the back of vinyl because I just scratched them all the time. So I did it for her. But then we went record shopping together. She's introduced me to Drake and people. I'm far too much of a dinosaur to understand. But I've introduced her to you and Zeppelin and Freddie Mercury and stuff. But the thing that got it for me, and it hasn't been forced, the thing that got it for me is I came back from work just before Christmas and she was curled up on the sofa with a nice log fire. It's a beautiful scene in the living room with a vinyl player on, and she had Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, the Triple Gatefold album. She was reading the lyrics. But she was reading the lyrics, looking at the artwork, listening to the whole album. But she said to me, Daddy, I get it. I get what an album is. This is a girl who'd just been Spotifying for ages. And I thought, yeah, that's the magic. You're right. Track 6 is the start of side 2.
Yes. The way I've always approached an album is this is a collection of work. This is a collection of a moment. It's a journey, and I love sequencing an album. How am I going to take the listener through? And vinyl is that beautiful vehicle of you're forced to listen to it the way I want you to listen to it and have that experience. And look, I mean, how. Our whole childhoods is opening. Yeah. You're opening up the album. You're looking at the lyrics. You're looking at the artwork. It's a journey. And I think today's children. I mean, we have two 12-year-olds, and that's an experience that they want.
It has to be a staple.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. A few years ago, when our oldest son, he's 20 now, but when he was a teenager, he asked for a record player, and I finally got it. And you have to really explain. Look, you have to be gentle with this thing. You can't.
Get your fingers off it.
You have to get your fingers off of it. You can't jump around. It's gonna. He's like, what's happening? It's funny. You have to really teach them about it.
Well, let's take a break. We're here. My interviews always go sideways; they never go straight forward. It's the beauty of talking to people. Let's break. Let's play "Faded by Design," and then we're going to come back and we're going to give listeners a very beautiful kick in the face as we talk about the album opener coming up after this. Right, we're back with Melissa. Brand new. We're on the countdown to the brand new album. We're in conversation in London with Melissa. Look, we've talked about the Grat track, the safe, the easy radio one from the record label we get. It's a beautiful song. And it would sit beautifully on your greatest hits. But I remember I got a sneaky stream listen to it a few weeks ago, and I thought, okay, I've heard the Grat track. I know what's coming. I think I said earlier, and I put the opening song on. Come on, it was like a wet flannel around the face, but I adore it. Tell us about the opener, because it's going to delight and surprise people in equal measure.
That's exactly it. I am tired of hearing people say rock and roll is dead, and no. And I had a couple of experiences in the last couple of years. I was actually arrested in North Dakota for possession of cannabis.
You rock star. You are a rock star.
I said, I am legit.
I've done it now.
Yeah, I've done it. I am right up there with Paul McCartney. And yeah, you better believe it. So after that experience, and I'm quite an advocate for cannabis, I was like, I got to stand up and rock this. And that song was one of the last songs I wrote for the album. Yes, because I was watching where the songs were going. I was actually, again, my wife is so inspirational to me. We were discussing what the album was like and how I consider cannabis plant medicine, and all of a sudden it was, it's like like a medicine show. And I went, wait a minute, the medicine show. And I swear I was driving around in my car going, let's all go to the medicine show. Hi ho, hi ho. And it was like E-I-E-O, and I went, oh no. And I started, it started writing in my head as I'm driving. I'm like, wait, I got to get home. I got to put this down. And for a minute I was like, oh, that's too silly. I can't do that. I went, no. This is those moments that I have to say, no, follow this road, follow this path. This is going to be fun. Yeah. I actually recorded it when John Shanks produced the album with me. He was away, and I went to the studio without him. I had the engineer, and I let's just do this. And I laid the drum down. I laid the guitars down, and I said, okay, I want it to sound like a gang vocal, like we're screaming. And we had to find. I said, is there an app that puts like on my own vocal, makes it sound like a stadium is singing along with me? And he and I created this. So all that whole thing you hear in the beginning is just me. That's just me singing like 4 or 5 times into these big room mics to make it sound like that. And I wanted.
It's quite a short song. It's only about 3 minutes.
It was like 2.5 minutes long. Well, it doesn't need to be any more than that. And once I wrote it, I went, oh my gosh, this is the opening. That when my first line is, I did not come here to say I'm sorry. Let's talk about what's going on. Let's do this, and then be honest about it. And the second verse is, hey, I got legit. Yeah, I took a hit. Yeah, in North Dakota. And just really put that out there, and it's a call to. I can't wait to open a show with that. I can't wait to have I did it. I've done it once here in London. I did it at my London show. I said, okay, you've not heard this song, but I just need you to sing with me. And when I, said hi ho, E-I-O, and I got a big laugh in the audience, I went, yeah, that's what we're going to sing. Yeah. And I sang it to them once, and they sang it right back, and it was. It's a lifter. It's a lifter, and that's what I want. I wanted to put it. I didn't know where else to put it on the album. I had to put it first.
It's the only way. Way. And I remember when I first heard the stream, I thought, okay, we're in for a different album here. But also it feels like the gloves are off for that song. You said you did it last. It's like you've done the album, gloves off, let's just go route one on this.
Yeah, let's just, that's what, because I had really successfully, like the next song is
why. The first song on your album, you might have been a bit safe with it. But it's kind of, you've done the album, let's just smash this.
Yeah. I had really covered all the bases I wanted to. I wanted a call to arms. I wanted a let's rise up and do this. And I want to give something. I want people to, be at work and all of a sudden go, oh my God, why am I humming this? Why am I singing that? And looking forward to the live aspect of this, because that's to have people want to come experience that. That's the key.
And I have a feeling for radio. Because my thing is I just play what the hell I want. No one tells us what to play. We don't get told by labels what to do. I get influenced heavily by Steve because I rate his judgment. But my view is that kind of song is that is a song. If it gets heard, people, it will be an earworm. People will call it. People will want it. And they don't need to be your fans. This is the beauty of great songs. To like the song, they kind of think that's a great song. I want to hear that again. Who was it by again? I've never heard of her over it. That's what you want, and it's never too late. I always say to listeners, it's never too late to discover an artist, even if you've missed the train. Yeah,
I love this guy. Yes, absolutely. I want to take that what you've just said and take it to America, because they're a little safe.
Should I put a hi y'all on it?
Do it. Hi y'all. Do it.
Marvelous. Okay, let's give it a cheeky spin. Coming up now.
Let's all go to a medicine show.
Big fun love party, marvellous. Right, we're back with Melissa. We're back with Miss Melissa. We are having a big medicine, how's your father, ding dong merrily on Hive the next hour. We've called it as album of the month for April. It was probably the only horse in the race, marvellous. And I'm not just saying it because I'm sitting next to Melissa. We're in England. We're not even drinking tea. We're drinking water.
We need some tea.
We need to get tea. Is that a cannabis plant there?
No, you would think it would be, but this is a succulent actually, which is very popular in Southern California, and I have a whole bunch, and I really like them.
Put that in the bag, take it home. Exactly. Marvellous. Right, back to the album. Now, my choice on the album. I have this thing with your albums, and maybe I'm a bit mad. My wife says I often am. I always like the last song on your albums. You have an art of doing last songs that break people's hearts and make me think, oh, I feel funny now. Might have to put it. No, but you do, and that's nice because your albums. Sometimes albums finish like you've done with the opening song. They put a big noisy one on the end. Your albums leave people thinking, and I think you've absolutely done it on this album. It's a song. Thinking of what's been going on in the world the last few weeks, heartbreaking events in New Zealand. Just talk about the last song. It kind of moved me beyond words hearing it.
The last song is called The Last Hello. And while I was recording the tragic events in Florida of the Parkland shooting in the high school happened. Now, unfortunately, we have had way too many. Just as I speak with you today, the shooting in New Zealand happened. This terrible incidences of fear and hatred that are
words, can you?
You can't not. So when I sat there with that feeling, with that hopelessness, that just desire to make it stop, I looked and I said, okay, I need to look at the whole scene here and choose a point of entrance into how do I write and try to heal any of this. And one of the statistics that I saw was that not only have we lost all these people to gun violence, but there are 150,000 survivors of mass shootings. And that's
Get forgotten about.
Yeah, 100 survivors that have gone through this, that are living with this. It's children that are living with this. And I thought, what's their feeling the next day? That feeling of hopelessness, of fear, of friends that they lost. And I just dove in with, in the morning light, I feel my heart, and it's cold and heavy. And through the song, a very simple, I miss my friend. I mean, this simple human loss that we have of relationships, and giving hope in the bridge of yet I see, if you could be here to see how this is affecting change, which it did. Those Parkland students went, and they have not let up. And we had a big in America. We had a big win in the courts that the Sandy Hook. Don't get me started on the tragicness of that. Those parents finally won in court that they could sue the gun manufacturer for the way that they advertise. And that's big, and that's the beginning of stopping this. So take that and say, if you could see this moment, this change that's happening, and how we're standing up and saying never again, but still, I miss you. I just, that's
human honesty.
The human honesty of that. And again, didn't know where else can I put this? It can only be on the end, to where you can it can be over and you can just take a breath. You can put that in your heart and move on. And then if you need, you can put the first song on again and raise yourself up and go, again.
Can you imagine how intense a compilation album of Melissa Etheridge closers would be if you put them all on an album?
It's funny, when I was doing the
it'd be a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it would destroy you, yeah. Because so many, it's true, my last songs are usually the most intense ones that I put there to leave the listener with something. And when I was doing the 25th anniversary of Yes I Am, the last song was Talking to My Angel. And I actually talked about how all of my albums, the last song was very, very important.
Okay, well, let's give that a spin. Hey, one thing I want to say, which is I think a nice accolade for you. I've talked about it after our last interview. Is I'm a big believer in this slightly, let's just say, up and down world we live in, whether it's people building walls in America or in here playing the Muppets in the House of Commons, or terrible events we see, as we've talked about earlier. I've been saying a lot that music needs to testify again. We need rock and roll to testify. But the beauty with your songs, which I like, because you think of Bruce and other people I know, music I play, where it's quite angular and quite direct. Your music touches on issues, but you don't preach. And I think there's a place for that, because so often it's not enough sometimes to be angry. Yeah. It's like the thing in New Zealand. It's heartbreaking, but you kind of think the way to deal with it is with a bit of love.
Yes, that's absolutely. And my friends and I, we call it radical love. It's to stand up in the face of horror, in the face of hatred, in the face of fear, and choose not to meet that hatred and fear with hatred and fear, but to meet it with love. And in my mind, I keep this vision of, you can't. There's not enough darkness in the world to put out a single candle, a single light, but that light can absolutely illuminate so much darkness. And that's the way our world is made. And that sort of light that we keep, if we keep just facing this with radical love, if all the choices we make, all the reactions we have come from radical love, that's where we will finally move past this back and forth of this diversity, this division that for so long people have risen to power through this division, to realize that it only serves a few people in power on top to know that the way that we're going to move forward is through radical love. Thank you, because I think that's catching on around the world.
Let's play that song.
In the morning light I feel my heart. I wonder what you're doing in the night out there. Is a sad summer breath.
Right, I'm now back with Melissa, but I am sandwiched between the two most delicious ladies in London today. I'm joined by Melissa's wife, Linda.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you. She loves you.
Well, I love you, and now I love Melissa. We all love each other. This is a big love party here in London. Brexit's going on. Donald Trump's dyeing his hair orange, but we are radiating the love. Yeah, we're not even going there. Not even going there. Right, Linda. Now you've been touring with Melissa through Europe. Tell me in a few minutes what the experience has been like.
Oh, it's heaven. It's heaven to see. I'm a big fan of my wife, so when I see
That's
her,
quite helpful if you are,
yeah,
matron. Yes.
and to see her, I think somehow she thought maybe the UK didn't get her, and the love that we felt this last tour was huge. So I think we're close to getting an apartment here, don't you think?
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. Wouldn't that be great? Oh, look at that. You've started it. No.
Well, you know what? After this interview, we could go in a taxi and we could go to some estate. We could go house shopping. Marvelous. No, I'm joking. Right. Your take on the. No, it's interesting getting an insight from you because you're Melissa's soulmate, but also you're probably sharing the music, talking about the music as she's creating. You're probably her sounding board while you're arguing over a Greek salad over dinner that the key's wrong or whatever it is. And you obviously see her backstage. So you're kind of like the engine room, seeing the finished product. What's your favourite from the album, from all the conversations and work in progresses you've talked about? What's your favourite? And I'll get Melissa to talk about it.
Well, I guess that there is a what she calls a grown-up love song on the album called "I Know You," which when she played it for me, it kind of blew me away, and she's forever forgiven for any fights we have.
Do you kind of think it's maybe written for you?
Better be written for me.
Well, I guess the beauty with that song is she's addressing the listener. Is everyone thinks it's written for them?
Yeah. And I think it's a spectacular. I think it's beautiful. I think the album is astonishing. Yeah.
You're proud of your beautiful wife?
I'm really proud of her. She worked really hard on this. I was with her in the beginning in Nashville when she was just being so brave, going, "Wait, I'm going to lay down drums. She's shy about this, but she really produced so much of this album in a way that I think it shows. It's so authentically her.
I don't either of you to cry on this moment, but coming over to you, Melissa, now. Your beautiful soulmate talking about your choice song. In your words, tell us about that song. It is very, very touching.
Well, I Know You is, I call it my grown-up love song. It's coming from a place of, years and years of writing and having relationships where, oh, you done me wrong. Oh, there was cheating, or there was this sort of the young drama that we had in our 20s and 30s, and to really sit down and fall in love and build a home and a family with someone and deal with the day-to-day stuff, because there's just day-to-day stuff. That's what our life is about. And there are nights, not many, but there are nights of conflict, of differences, and of how and fears, and sometimes you fall asleep, and then you wake up, and it's that moment in the morning where, oh, that's right, we had a fight last night.
It's a new day.
Are we going to start with the fight, or are we going to just go, of course we love each other, of course we can work this thing out, of course there's just fears, and it wasn't a struggle. I gave birth to this song for a long time. I had written the music for it, and I knew that I wanted this sort of soulful rhythm and this slow, just moment. And when it started coming to me, it was, oh, I know you, baby, I know you so well, and it's like, wow, that's. To have been in a relationship, for 10 years or more, and know that closeness, and go, oh, this is, come on, we're going to get through this, and then my favorite part was when I finally got the lyric of, that fire when our thoughts and our fears collide, and we're in that disagreement, that fire. That's the same fire when we make love. It comes from the same place,
But there's a truth to it. I remember hearing that song, and it is nice because you're singing. It's almost like you're singing it to every listener. Yeah, I know you and stuff, and it's warm. But there is a thing, isn't there, with all our soulmates in life? I mean, we have one each. Not that we all have 40, but actually, I think about my wife. Who I love deeply, and I can be difficult to live with. I'm up and down, but it is that truth of knowing someone deep down is where the love comes from.
And I think that's what people strive for. They want that. Yeah. And there's and after a few years, boy, you know, they see everything. You know, they know everything. There's no prettying up this. And so it's the intensity of a relationship.
Let's give it a play. And Linda, thanks for being part of the show.
Oh, I'm delighted. We adore you. Well, can we?
I adore you. Oh, sorry, I've got to have Melissa hissing me there. Marvellous. Let's move on. Let's play the song. Marvellous. I want the Shriners Park of this
Human
album.
Chain? Oh.
Whatever. Oh, it's my favourite. Marvellous. Right, we're back with Melissa and Linda. And what's your name? Duani. He's serving us the beautiful. She's putting the marijuana things on the cannabis. They're putting the cannabis plants on the table. Hashtag discuss. Police search pending at Renaissance Hotel after this show. Melissa, you've heard my favourite. We've heard what Steve's favourite. We've heard Linda's favourite. I think you deserve a shout out on the new album. Is there a song that holds a special place in your heart because it was edgy or different, or just has a special place? Tell us about a song that you want to talk about.
Well, of course, that's difficult, you know, to say favorite songs because it's my children. Yeah, although I do have a favorite child, but okay.
Well, edit that out. Edit that out. Brian, if you're listening, no, I'm joking. Marvellous. No, let's start again.
Exactly. So, you know, it's hard to pick a favorite song because they all mean so much to me. But probably, if you know, knowing the songs that you guys have chosen, I would pick out one that when people hear the album, they're like, "Well, oh, where did that song come from?" And it's this Human Chain, and it's a soul, it's a throwback to a soul sound. It was.
You got a lot of soul in you after Memphis.
Yeah. And I grew up in the Midwest where we had one radio station that played everything. I grew up with no boundaries on music. I thought, you know, Marvin Gaye was comfortable right next to Tammy Wynette and you know, Led Zeppelin. You know, they're all right there. And so soul music was a big part of my inspiration. So this song is just it's in the soul tradition of finding a chord progression and just doing it the whole time and never veering from it. So it's just this beat. And the whole idea behind the song came from an article that I saw a couple of years ago about I think it was in France that this man was starting to drown. He had been drug out by the riptide on the beach, and people could see that he was in distress. They called for help, but they were afraid that he wouldn't last until, you know, the help got there. So everyone on the beach formed a human chain. They all hand in hand held until they reached him and pulled him in. And I said, that's us. That's who we are. It's time to come together. Time to realize I can't blame anybody else. That's the division that they're doing for in the Trump era to say your problems are someone else's fault. It's that, you know, I cannot blame the other. That this whole us and them. Yeah, no. It's, you know, this is my life. Time to come together. And this human chain it's what we're all about. And so that song, I look forward to playing it live. I love to listen to it. It's just a beautiful little piece.
Beautiful. Coming up. Right, we're back in London now. We're drawing to the end of our interview. There's a guy who's just arrived with a guitar, so I think it's going to be an interview and live jam. I can't compete with that, but it's beautiful. It's your guitar. Now we've had Linda. We've had the beautiful Linda on the interview, which I'm really pleased we've had a quick hello. You should never usually put the PR's front of camera or front of mic, but we're going to this time because the guy sitting next to me, I think he's the best guy in the UK at doing what he does because he's truth, he's honest, he fits what we've talked about, but also there's a kind of full circle. Melissa, tell me about your first dealing with Steve. I think he had hair and was a bit younger.
That's why I don't recognize him physically, but I remember coming over here. The thing was I had signed with Island Records, Chris Blackwell, for my first album, and Chris was just he really felt like I would break in the UK first. He felt like the UK would understand me. It's funny, it wasn't quite like that, but I did a lot of work over here. I came over here before the first album even came out in America and worked. And Steve, we went around. We worked to try to get the playing in UK, and the UK was the first place I ever heard my song on the radio. It was I'd never heard that before, so I had these first.
Did it bring me some water?
No, it was actually similar features at the time. Yeah, they were working similar features. So to now come back here and know that he's working this album, it means so much to me, and it feels so right. So
full circle.
Yeah, I love having someone who loves music, who knows what he's doing, who's been around. It's really a delight to have him.
And I don't feel threatened because he's not quite as beautiful as me. Marvelous. No, I'm joking. Steve, Steve, a few words from you, just from your sense as a young guy doing the stuff, and I know you did U2 and all sorts of big things, working on Melissa's early work, and now coming full circle. How do you think this new era of Melissa's work fits with the early memories you had?
It fits perfectly, I think. I think what's very pertinent is we have pictures from 1988, and pretty much everyone in that picture is still on a Facebook group together or friends in various guises. And anyone that saw that I was at Melissa's gig recently has said, please send my love to Melissa. And we worked really hard at that time. And I think to any aspiring artist, you should take a leaf out of what Melissa did then to get to now. Because you did so many gigs in so many small places to make so many friends the hard way that are still friends. Yeah. And
I think you're going to make her cry.
No. And I come here as a fan, actually. When Keha from... I pronounced his name wrong again, haven't I? From Concord started talking about Melissa Etheridge, and I said I have a history there. I just was so excited. Today's very exciting. I actually get to have lunch with Melissa today, so I've had my hair done. I've got my suit on.
You haven't got your hair done. You've given it a polish like me, matron. Okay, we're going to come back. Melissa, we're going to round up now, and we're probably going to finish the hour of Shriners Park because it's my guilty pleasure. It's my it was nice to. I didn't realise the whole story on it when you talked about it. But one thing I want to say is a heartfelt thing, and I don't want to sound inappropriate saying this, but the thing that I remember having discovered you, had a break from you, gone back to you, and then I will never forget. Because this is the thing with fans, you feel you have a connection. I've only met you now, but you feel you know the people whose music you love. And then when I heard that you were poorly, which I probably heard down in Sussex 9 years after everyone else, I was thinking, we can't lose Melissa. We can't lose Melissa. And my sense is since you've come back and 15 years cancer-free, it feels to me like you made the call when you got through that, is I'm going to live.
Yes.
I'm going to live. And every album's a celebration of that, being alive. You're not doing the same old stuff. You went to Memphis, you're doing this. You've got the cannabis party coming to town now. Do you kind of... Because we've also got listeners, and I know one listener who's been through a similar challenge. So it's comforting to know you can come out and beat it and do and grow and get married and do great things after it. As a musician, when you look back on your journey since you beat that horrible thing, how does it feel being alive now? Just talk to me.
That's what it's about. I'm one of those people that I feel that cancer was a gift to me. It woke me up. It completely woke me up to my own experience of living. And that if I'm not enjoying my life, if I'm not searching for joy every day, what am I doing? And that not only does my search for joy every day affect my life, but it affects the world. And in truth, it's the only thing that affects the world is how I hold my own experience every day. And the more that I believed in that, the more that I lived that, the richer and deeper my life has become. And my experience of the last 15 years, I want to take that and inspire others. And that's one of the reasons that this album is called The Medicine Show. It's about healing. From where I'm looking, my perspective, health is the next paradigm change. It's going to go from something of that we don't talk about really, and no, it's taking our own responsibility, and number one, how much our own joy and happiness has to do with our health, and music is a big part of that. I want this album to be a healing experience for people when they listen to it.
Okay. Our time's up. I think we've got Brian from Radio Cheshire coming in next. Marvellous. Or someone's hiding with a guitar around the corner. Just showing off. Marvellous. Melissa, it's been beautiful to meet you. It's been great to hear the inside track of the story. Linda, it's been lovely to share some minutes with you. And Steve, to go full circle with you. I think we've gone full circle. And to quote one of your songs, I think after an hour, I think we know you a bit better. Melissa, best of luck with the album. Let's stay in touch, and maybe let's catch up after your beautiful cruise later this year.
Yes, you have to come on my cruise. You will be more than welcome. There's men, women, there's all kinds.
Tell us about the cruise.
Okay. Well, the cruise is, it's number one, it's about the music. It's about artists. It's about songs. Yes, we have the majority are women.
We've got Joan Osborne.
Joan Osborne.
Antigone Rising.
Well. Oh, Sean Colvin, Dar Williams, Delta Ray. These amazing just musicians and songwriters, and it's a celebration of that.
Celebration of life, of friendship. And I have to say, when I went to the Bexhill show, I went with a singer of a band I know in Kent who's a big fan of yours, and my wife, and a photographer and a blogger. There's a whole load of us that went down. It was about 7 or 8 of us. But the thing that was nice about that thing, it was the nicest vibe in an audience I think I'd ever felt. The friendship from people of all walks of life, of all backgrounds, there for the music, actually having a decent supper together, people sharing tables, people hugging each other in the audience. It was beautiful.
I think being a fan of my music is not easy. Yes, it's not easy. And people have welcomed me into their life, and there's a certain vulnerability that everyone shares, and they all know that it comes from respect and humanity, and that a Melissa Etheridge show is a safe, beautiful place to celebrate music and life.
I'm going to have the last word, because after we've already said goodbye, I'm going to do it again. Linda, come over here again, darling. And then I'm going to leave you. Steve's counting his watch, saying the next interview's running late. We've said how marvellous we think Melissa is. Steve said how marvellous he thinks Melissa is. The listeners are all going to be on Twitter saying how marvellous Melissa is. You're the love of her life. You're her soulmate. You're her partner. You put up with the good and the bad that we never see. You give a message to Melissa to close the hour tonight.
Oh,
be nice.
I'm joking. A message about her or to her?
Give a message to her.
Oh, honey, it's wonderful to see you be open to how loved you are, because I think part of you, way back when, didn't believe just how much, and so I hope you get that.
Well, I'm feeling it. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Ladies, God bless. We'll see you again on the journey in the months and years ahead.
Yay! I'm so glad you came.
You made me cry.
Well, that's your lot, folks. What a marvellous hour that was. Absolutely a marvellous memory, meeting up with Melissa in London. Very fortunate to have time in her busy schedule. Schedule. Are we British? Are we American? Who cares? We're one big family. # discuss. It's a super album. Some of you have heard some of the early radio tracks or the single and the Grat track. I think now the album's upon us, we can really dig deep. Hey, the Medicine Show. It's a bit of a stonking opener. We started the show with it. I think we'll finish it. Do check out Melissa Etheridge on socials to find links to getting the album on CD, on vinyl, on bundles. She's a great artist, and I do believe this is probably her finest album for 25 years. We're going to play out with the Medicine Show. Then we've got one more helping of music for you tonight. We're going up to Oxford to hear from Little Brother Eli on their Kickstarter. Coming up next.